Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Here we see Macron, Zelensky, the world coming back to Trump, renegotiating. The war in the Ukraine is basically over. You see, when the two big dogs see eye to eye, and we don't have to have all the BS in the way, so something I've been talking about for a very long time has happened. And that is basically the communication of Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin. And with that, we can get past the war that we might be looking at because of Benjamin Netanyahu. The pathway to peace is looking more stable, and everybody hates it. The military industrialization complex hates it. Everybody doesn't like this move because the only way in which they have control is when there is no communication. But you see, I think Christ is back, and Christ is won. And if Europe is to be saved, I want culture to realize that it was disseminated by the creation of NATO, the creation of the EU, the wokeism of Israel, into our government. And I say that because, look, we're being brainwashed by George Soros, the MSNBC media. It took a fall today. No more weirdos pitching their spin, but they'll probably have some sort of pathway. But in my opinion, should they be jailed? Because they're getting paid to lie to us on airwaves, and it's not just that, but they're funded airwaves that have been funded by you and I. And then they protect themselves under lies. Anyways, we had a major meeting. I loved it because they say 3-on-3, but let's say 2-and-2. We had the best of the best there. We had Secretary of State Marco Rubio with Lavrov and Putin and Trump. And that's just something that the world has needed. And because of that, we see an immediate, I'm going to tell you what happened immediately, and this is going to blow your mind, but by the two big dogs meeting, okay, what if I told you that as soon as Trump and Putin met, as soon as Christ's son in the United States and Christ's son out in Russia met, because these men are under light. And as soon as they met, you see the darkness scattered. And I feel that we've learned a lot. We learned that the CIA was in connection even with Mossad, and that they're behind Kennedy. They didn't want the Jews to have nuclear weapons. But you see, we're meeting in Alaska. A lot of Americans don't know that right after a couple of years, 1867, we were talking to the Russians, and we had an Alaska purchase agreement. We said that we would purchase Alaska, never get to war with Alaska, and so this is old Russian territory. And a lot of people don't know how close we are, and Putin led with, hey, we're only a few miles away from each other from the Aleutian Islands and some islands. But this is what I've wanted to have happen for a long time, for the just so that we can rest and sleep good at night. The only country that could do anything to the United States of America would be Russia. The only country that has the arsenal to, in my opinion, defeat us with what they've done in the last 5 years. I'm not saying they've always had the upper hand, but during the Biden administration, they used that time wisely to study all of our stuff, to dissect our stuff. And Putin has been running Russia since the destruction of communism, and he destroyed communism. And our only leaders out there in communism are Xi Jinping and maybe Kim. But Kim suggested with Putin that their only real enemy was us following the haphazard wars of Benjamin Netanyahu. And what the world needed to see the most, more than anything, was the two big powers of the world waiting to see each other. Because we've proven that our elections were stolen. But maybe God used that time so that we'd come back with a vengeance, and sometimes God teaches us that we truly need to clean house. But right here, that's the moment of peace. That's the moment it started. And I want you to know that our First Lady, Melania Trump, was there. And don't think that she was not on the scene in on this. And she has a Christian message for all of us to come together into Christ and to put our children first and to not succumb to any darkness, but to follow the Bible, whether it be you're a Catholic, a Protestant, a Baptist, or a Russian Orthodox. We all follow Jesus, and to follow Jesus correctly. And if we value the Bible and the Constitution, and we fear them and love them both, we can protect ourselves from forces of darkness. And if you don't think they're dark forces, well, Europe used to be a beautiful place, but it's been invaded by darkness. I would say the same thing with Ireland and England. And you either know what I'm talking about or you don't. There is light and there is darkness. And I just want you to know that. And so to me, this is the moment of peace that the world has been needing to see. And since then, there have been certain people that have had a tough time. Zelensky and everybody else, they realize that the con job is over. And that is because light recognizes light and darkness recognizes darkness. And so as they ride together, we shall indeed be saved. We don't have to worry about a lot of wars. I want you to know Russia went in and they bombed Ukraine today. It was pretty tough. But what does this mean? What does this mean to us? This means that we're abandoning not really Europe, but we're abandoning the EU and NATO. And right now the military industrialization complex hates this. And so does Israel, because if there is a pathway to peace, it's sitting in this car right here. And as long as we can communicate with Russia, and I'm so glad that it was expressed even that we could even have just Melania Trump and Putin, no Secret Service, even Barron, and that they can communicate completely together. To me, that's national security. I would so much rather listen to Putin and Trump talk directly. And by the way, we have the concession of eastern Ukraine. And if you think that, Putin did take it over. I can give you the statistics, but all in all, the people of those regions voted twice to become states of Russia. And so this was a very unnecessary war. And it's because we had darkness. There's something called the Home Rule, not just the Home Rule Act, that's what we're doing in D.C., but the return home, and that's where if you're of Israeli descent, you can return to Israel if you're being persecuted for pedophile crimes. I'm going to go over that here in just a bit. And that is darkness. That is why Israel in so many cases is being looked at as a synagogue of Satan, and that's Revelation 2:9, 3:9. But there again, we have the big dogs talking. And it's something we can relax about. So we have two master negotiators, and I want you to know we can rest easy. And so they're giving a lot of words in so many sentences. But I think I'm going to sum up what Putin is saying and what Trump is saying. And I think a lot of people are going to agree with me here. What they're both saying is this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended not. And there was a man sent from God, whose name was John. Men are sent by God, shining in the darkness. And we represent the light. We share this commonality, this foundation. I want our countries to be built on this rock that was rejected by the people that we're questioning now. Oh yes, the Romans long ago, and even the Jews. They cast out perfection when perfection came and even dwelt among us. But we can be saved by that because we all have faults, and we need leaders that recognize that commonality. And today, President Putin stands united on that rock with us. And that's just a little something I wanted us to be relieved about. And also the communication between Melania Trump, President Putin, how we need to be Christian parents to uphold the Bible in our standing, and to get all of this woke alphabet soup out of our schools, because it's ruining America. And many of it comes from a place. We have Putin, 72 years old. 25 years he's been running Russia. Since the collapse of the USSR, since he's been 47 years old. Trump is 47, 47th President of the United States. Trump is 79 years old. He's going to be running our country in a span of 12 years, interrupted by fraud. We need to prosecute that fraud. Tulsi Gabbard's got it lined up to be throwing Obama in the slammer because of the Russian collusion. And instead of collusion, how about we have Russian communication? And hopefully we have Trump defeating the Democrats, just like we have Putin defeating communism. And I'm going to suggest that today's Democrats are yesterday's and today's communists. And we need to defeat communism even within our own country. So we have all these people, and we have the two big dogs of Christ. And how's Netanyahu responding, and what are they saying? But I'll tell you something. The people of Israel are revolting right now on the streets against Netanyahu, and we are not hearing the truth. Oh, no, we're not. We get to hear a spin on however they want to tell us that they're thinking. They don't want us to see the unification of Trump, of Putin, the communication that has been established, and the rollback, the surrender of the Ukraine. The areas that he doesn't surrender are being bombed. And like I said, the states on over onto the eastern sides are being agreed to by Trump and Putin as if this is in the last 15 minutes. So there's a concession. And we have France, we have Zelensky, we have everybody agreeing to it. I hope the troops out there in the fields can hear it. Time to pack up your gear and get out of town. When you have your president and the defeat is at hand, pick up your mat and walk and live another day. And that's what we have. So we have some other things that are on the agenda. We even have Venezuela. They're either going to collapse or join with us. I've been getting contacted in Texas about drilling down there on the new discovery. Of course, it's going to be major, but I'm seeing an angle here. Oh yeah, I see people and I hear people that need food, they need shelter. We don't have enemies as the people of Venezuela. We don't have people that are enemies that are the people of Cuba. We have enemies that are called dictators and communists that are not listening to the fundamental rights of Christianity, which is the first faith that has enabled the establishment of the separation of church and state, thereby giving you freedom. See, that's the difference in Islam. We just don't have the difference of separation in church and state. And as far as Hinduism, I tell all Hindus, you realize that Jesus is the final Christ of Krishna, correct? I tell you what, it makes sense to them all the time, because don't forget Herod the Great was seeing it in the zodiac. But I'm letting you know that we have something that is brewing. Here's something. Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro announced he would mobilize 4.5 million militia members and troops. And this comes after the United States put a $50 million bounty on his head. See, Pam Bondi's not just a cute girl, she's also kind of scary. Not quite as scary as Christy Nome, but I'm going to suggest that you put Christy in her invisible jet, give her her lasso, and let her go down and lasso Maduro himself. Yes, Wonder Woman from South Dakota can do quite the job, but we have a $50 million bounty out for his alleged drug arrest. But is that real? Is that the way we need to handle things? I think we just need to apprehend the Panama Canal. 38,000 Americans paid their life for it. As soon as we do that, China and Russia can't get through. Putin and Trump are already talking. I say we just feed the people of Venezuela, talk about Christ, go drill a whole bunch of oil, and make sure everybody can have a splendid life because of that. What is wrong with that? And we don't have to go to the Middle East for oil, which is in Iran and China's backyard, because I don't know if you figured it out, but from Brazil, Argentina, all the way up into Canada, we're ruled by Christ. Our conflicts are not here. So why don't we just embrace Cuba? Why don't we just embrace French Guiana? Why don't we just embrace Venezuela? And we can drill in Venezuela. People of Venezuela, this lady here behind me, Pam Bondi, $50 million bounty on your dictator. She's out for you. You know, and let's say we get them. Don't be too afraid, because when we get you in America, we're just going to return them, right? Isn't that we do what we do with like everybody? We let them put 50,000 fentanyl pills here, but then we arrest them and extradite them. So what are we going to do with them when we get them here? Extradite them back to Venezuela? Just a question. Because ridiculous we is. So, is NATO a thing? Is the EU a thing? The answer is no. What makes you say that, Chris? Well, within the last couple of hours, from 4 days on into today, the Russians have been doing some bombing. Here's some little maps, schematics, so that you can see what they've been up to. Russia's Federal Security Service said Wednesday it had destroyed Ukraine's Sapsong long-range missile production facilities in a joint operation with the Defense Ministry just hours before U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin were to meet in Alaska. This means that Putin protected his people and his country 100% before they even met. Now that's a damn good leader. So any attempt that could hit Moscow while he was out and away was ended. That's a damn good leader. We need to get out of the Ukraine. We need to stop messing with Russia. I am so glad and relieved that we're talking. Because how would you feel if Russia put nuclear missiles in Mexico and Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua tomorrow? Because that's how they feel when we put nuclear missiles in the Ukraine and Poland and Germany. We have to stop this nonsense. This Garden of Eden that we've been given has not been given to us to destroy, but to nurture, to be sustainable. We have to show resilience so that the generations after us have a chance. With the technology we have to do these things. So we have all of this stuff that has been taken care of right now, and Putin said that he would even meet Zelensky, and this is shocking the world. I don't think Zelensky should. He might be experiencing gravity. Most people do. He's messing with the bear, and the war is over. How many more people need to die? We're either going to see the implementation of a Russian puppet or an American puppet in the Ukraine, and we need to stop messing in our enemies' backyards when they could try to be our friends, and we need to concentrate on saving Europe from the invasion that has happened. As they've opened the door to every other country, they stand just like us, invaded. And so I'm asking us to see what makes sense. And with the unification of Russia and America together, we don't have to worry about China, North Korea, nobody. And together we can clean out the United States and Europe. And that's what I see as logic. And if you ask me why, I told you. We have to be built upon a rock, not upon sand. If we build our house upon sand right now, it falls apart. We stand so divided on this sand. We need to take back that rock that has been cast out and rejected. Who is that, Chris? Well, it's the one that saved me. Maybe it can save you too. What do you mean by that? Well, you understand I'm a part of the only finished faith there is. That's what makes me a rock. That's what makes your grandpa and grandma a rock too. We are built on love because someone died for us. God understands us. In every other faith, say I'm a Hindu, I hope I'm going to die and be reincarnated into something wonderful. Let's say I'm a Muslim, 5 times a day, God, do you understand me? Let's say I'm a Christian. Do you understand me, God says? I gave you my only begotten Son just so that you can be saved. What do you not understand about that? I accept you as you are. Well, that's some pretty big stuff there. To be accepted with your faults. We all need to be accepted by our faults. And because 2 men of God of the light are talking, the darkness is running instantaneously. What do I mean about the darkness running instantaneously, America? Well, as soon as President Trump and President Putin talk together, Xi Jinping is slightly retreating from his attacks upon Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines. You see, that's the true evil, the one that we're fighting. We're fighting communism and darkness. They don't even let Chinese follow Buddhism, Hinduism, or Christianity. You can't get more antichrist than that. And so we have Xi's secret pledge, and he pledges it immediately, and it shocked everybody. He said, you know, while President Trump is the president, I'm not going to attack Taiwan. Well, nope, you're not going to. Build up your house. Let's make some drones. Honto, Jodan. It's time to make some drones. Get hard. Start preparing against China. The people of China deserve freedom, democracy. The light and the darkness is running already. And I'm just letting you know it. Now here's something that I've been talking about. Remember them Chinese, they got their hands in Walmart. Yes, I remembered. Well, I was talking about this good value and stuff that's going on. Well, turns out these shrimp, a lot of them are raised in basically human waste. So is tilapia. It's not fit for human consumption. It's not good for you. There's a lot of stuff that they're selling that's really just hydrogenated oils. Even the cheese, maybe 42% great value at best. It's not worth eating. And there are things in there that are becoming illegal throughout the world, have been illegal, but my point is, you see, China's gotten involved. They put disodium EDTA in a lot of this, and this shrinks our manhood and increases our population to where they're feminine. And they get us in these low-budget foods. And this is something that you need to know. Well, sure, disodium EDT is a great chelation agent to get rid of heavy metals in your body, but then also that and saltpeter's, and you have effemination of the entire population of America. Has it happened? Well, if you ask me, it's shocking. Shocking, shocking. So there's Walmart, they're doing it, and China's getting us through our foods. You can either believe this or be a moron, but I want you to remember in the days of the Navy in certain areas and jails, they'll put saltpeter and stuff to shrink the gonads to make it to where guys don't want to fight. I'll also let you know the vaccine, they had junk data, and Bill Gates himself told you that junk data, well, we could just get rid of it. They didn't know what it was. Turns out it was the data that gives you the drive to succeed and to be aggressive in life. And so a lot of the people that are vaccine injured just no longer have a drive in life. How convenient. Something they said that they would use on Saudi Arabia, they used on us. Now, you could go look it up, but he also announced he'd use it as a war weapon on other countries, and that's sad how it was shelved for that purpose, but then used on us years later. Well, you know why I say that? Well, because he couldn't create an operating system worth the crap, so he had to make virus protection for Windows. And then when he just went from one thing to the next, he was like, well, maybe I should do virus protection for humanity. And maybe everybody should eat fake meat and fake this and fake everything else until we're faked out of existence. The darkness doesn't understand the light. It's all just a bunch of lies. There's a lot of foods from Walmart that we can't eat, and I'm just letting you know. And they're things that we eat all of the time, okay? And the thing that blew me away was even the green beans, and I got to get into this because even the green beans were tainted. Even the cans of the great value cans were loaded full of E. coli. We've had deaths throughout the United States because of this. I wanted this to become known to you. Even the way in which they're making their spinach, other things have been getting people sick. And I'm just letting you know that. And so are we buying foods at Walmart that are potentially harming us here? The suspects are great value foods. The quality control of what they're doing, even their canning process, has been getting people sick. As far as even some of the brands, like this one right here, when they say they're washing things, there were a couple people that died. And I think we have the right to know that. Okay? So there are several things that are going on, but again, what blew me away was even the green beans. And I think that then in Arkansas they were hurried up, but we need to get onto quality control. And if we didn't have China sucking out all of our Del Monte and higher quality foods, then we wouldn't have that. Now, when they then cross-reference to other brands like Kroger, they found a much higher quality all the way around. So there you go. As far as if you want to avoid this, Go to places that have higher quality standards, and then you will have higher quality results. I'm just letting you know the Great Value brand itself has had some health concerns and red flags, and I just have to tell you about it. Now, the other thing is I got to let you know is this huge Israel pedophile thing and this pedophile sting, and I'm going to let some stuff play, and it's shocking, but the world needs to know the truth, and as far as how these people operate and what's going on. And so, yeah, there is a loophole in the law, and in this loophole of the law, if people from that are just even Jews in general are accused, there is something called the law of return. And so we have thousands of people that are, are able to return. Now that's Jimmy Dore right there, and I don't know if this is the correct one, but he has a lot of information. Give this a listen on as to what some other journalists, Jimmy Dore's a great one to listen to, and some others, but I want to inform the American public on how we're not safe from Israelis, even here. They recently took over TikTok, and apparently we can't even get federal funding in any state unless we hire Israel, and the only thing they do is surveillance and spying on our computers. So we either let them completely monitor us, or we get no money at all from even our own federal government, and I want you to know that. So, are we controlled?
Listen. To board a plane and to go back to Israel where he will not face charges.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered
the defense agency for questioning. Prime Minister's office says incident resolved quickly. Really? Ending with a brief questioning of National Cyber Directorate staffer before his release and return to Israel. The executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate was arrested this week in Las Vegas in a child pedo ring sting. This guy works directly under Netanyahu, so of course he was allowed to go back to Israel.
Tom Alexandrovich, this is the executive, he's in the middle there. He is the executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate. He was arrested after a sting bust in Las Vegas. He was meeting up with who he thought was a minor for sex, and it ended up being a cop. It was a sting operation, and he got busted. Him along with, I believe, 7 individuals ended up being arrested in this sting operation. He then he's an Israeli. He's in the United States visiting. He's here for a conference, some sort of a tech, cyber security type conference, and he gets released on $10,000 bail, and he's allowed to board a plane and to go back to Israel where he will not face charges.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel. So Ian Lee has been following this for more than a year, and he traveled to Israel for this investigation. He worked with a group that tracks people accused of sex crimes, which estimates dozens of Americans have used this loophole.
So, he's 6'2".
We are on a stakeout looking for this man, Jimmy Julius Caro, 48 years old and wanted on charges of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl in Oregon back in 2000 and a 5-year-old girl in Israel in 2001. He's considered dangerous. But these photos are a few years old, so we don't know if he'll look the same. He remains elusive. Previous attempts to capture him have failed.
Obviously, the fear that he would somehow figure out that anyone's looking for him and bolt. He just called his number.
Shauna Aronson got a tip that Caro's expected at this clinic near Tel Aviv.
Who's going to call?
She's with JCW, Jewish Community Watch, an organization that hunts down accused pedophiles who flee to Israel from the U.S., exploiting a process called law of return, whereby any Jewish person can move to Israel and automatically gain citizenship. The ease with which pedophiles seem able to use this law as an escape route haunts victims like Mendy Hawk, who says he was abused from age 8 by a teacher at an Orthodox Jewish school in Los Angeles.
So your classroom is right here. How does it feel being back?
I was very anxious and, stressed coming back here, and a lot of memories coming through my mind.
Memories of his alleged abuser, Mordechai Yomtov, who taught him Hebrew studies when he was just 8 years old.
So in the beginning, he would just rub me outside of my pants, and then say about 3 to 4 months later, he started going again.
Reaching down your
Yeah, it's reaching down.
Why did you feel like you couldn't tell anyone?
I was scared. I was ashamed. I just didn't know what people would think of me in the whole situation.
Yom Tov pled guilty in 2002 to sexually abusing and committing lewd acts against 3 other boys. He served jail time, but when he was released, he violated his probation and, according to JCW, fled to Israel with help from individuals within the Orthodox Jewish community. JCW tracked Yom Tov down and confronted him with a hidden camera in Jerusalem, where he admitted to illegally fleeing the United States with help and using a fake passport to enter Israel.
I was supposed to stay for 5 years in the same city. I was supposed to take training on the side of the city. I was supposed to go every 2 weeks to the police station. Correct. I left with another photo.
He had this message for his victims.
I'm very sorry.
The other person in this video is Mayor Seawald, the founder of Jewish Community Watch. He tells CBS News Yom Tov's case isn't uncommon in the Orthodox community.
The same thing that's going on in the Catholic.
I know thy works. Revelation 2:9. I know thy works. And the tribulation and poverty. But thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy in them, which say they are Jews, and they are not. But they are the synagogue of Satan. I couldn't say it more clearly, but this country allows the pedophile of the world to rape and molest children according to their Talmud. Everybody's trash. And they have a welcome home policy, and you can stay here. Doesn't matter if you molested children in America, we have a way for you to escape free of charge. Synagogue of Satan. Do you understand me now? I know your thoughts. Two 9, and that's not it. 2:9 and 3:9. Behold, I will make them a synagogue of Satan, which they say they are Jews and are not. You see in the Pentateuch of the Bible, to be a Jew, there's 365 good laws, 248 bad laws, 613 laws. Those are the true Jews. These are Zionist, European people that are saying that they are Jews, and they are not. They do not follow the Pentateuch. They do not treat their neighbor the way they want to be treated themselves. Above all, they do not know how to love. These are Nazis that only understand the ashes of everybody that they burn. Hence, they are ash Nazis. Behold, I will make them a synagogue of Satan. And they say that they are Jews, and they are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship them at my feet. Just so that you know that I've loved you. What would be a synagogue of Satan except for a country that allows other members of their pagan clan to molest children worldwide and come seek refuge here in Jerusalem, Were they in Jerusalem around the time of Christ? The answer is no. Ashkenazis, 586, time of the book of Esther. Mordecai after Zedekiah. And we have a group, 303, that migrated up into Russia, from Russian descent, kept some traditions. So in other words, even during the time of Jesus, they were already away for 500 some odd years, living in Europe. At very best, we have some living in Turkey, some living in modern-day Ukraine now. But what you're seeing here is the migration of basically European Polish Jews from, and if there is Jew in them, it's from 303 Jews. And we find, even through DNA tests, here's a funny one, that they are less Jewish than certain Chinese and certain Japanese and certain tribes. And that is also why they bought 23andMe, so that they can hide the truth that they are saying that they are Jews, but they are not. And that they provide a refuge, a place, a sanctuary city for pedophiles and child molesters. I would call that synagogue of Satan, and I would say that revelation is happening today. So it is my prayer, America, that we separate ourselves from a synagogue of Satan. That is not Israel. That is an Ashkenazi Zionist following a Talmud. That is not a Jew following the Pentateuch. So they are not Jews. And they disrespect the best of Jews that would not dare pick up a gun and that would not dare hurt a child, because these are imposters that are saying that they are Jews when they're worse than the garbage man. The truth is, there's no refugees. Don't believe that. When a drone can show you clearly the entire country of Gaza has been bombed, where would they be? And why would someone from Gaza let them live? Where did the 1.9 million Palestinians go? Did you know that it was slipped on the news today that Netanyahu's next plan is Iran and Saudi Arabia? So, I'm so glad that President Trump and President Putin are talking. And I pray that Israel gets a leader. And I pray that you elect a true rabbi that follows the not the Talmud, but the Pentateuch, and that treats his neighbor the way that he wants to be treated. Not some warmonger, not some American Polish Jew. And I want everybody in America to understand that every prime minister has changed their name many times so that they can seem like they're a Semitic Jew when they are Europeans, all impersonating Jews. And that they're a synagogue of Satan run by a den of vipers and thieves known as the Congress and the Senate of the United States of America. If we have kings, it's not been our presidents. It's the Supreme Court of the United States, and we need term limitations for those kings so that they can stop dividing us on Second Amendment, so that they can stop dividing us on abortion, so that they can do their job or go home. And we need to get this gerontocracy out of office immediately, ASAP, because Congress has failed us and failed Europe and failed every bum we have under a bridge and on our streets today. They believe in war. They were born when this guy was born behind me. And they know that they're going to check out any day, so what do they care about you tomorrow? And that's basically it in a news flash. Jimmy Dory's given some really good information right there. I suggest you go and check out his streaming show that's out there. And I wanted you to know about the law of return. Because Christ is returned, Oh, you didn't know? Well, just ask the eagle and the bear. Right here, you look behind me, I see communism, Islam, and a bear. Well, one of them's a Christian. Ain't those two. We got the Antichrist over there. Look at him. Boy, look at that Antichrist. And look, the Three Stooges, Moe, Larry, and Curly. These guys right here, Moe, Larry, and Curly, are the problem with the stability of Europe. 100%. You can't let the Three Stooges, for Christ's honor and sake, my Lord, get away with murder and run their countries into a brick wall. How did they even get to where they're at? Probably the same way Jackwagon Joe did. You know, all you have to do is have a little Smartmatic Dominion in there and pay the right people that are paid to control your computer, you know. You don't get any money unless you use them, and then we'll have a Jewish fiasco, complete control, and a clown show for the world as we fight another war for no reason. Sometimes I'll talk like that to confuse the bots, but the big dudes are at it. And NATO's basically, they're scared because they don't exist. Even though they say, hey, we got a big energy deal, I don't care. I want us to get our people off the streets in America. That's what I care about. So we have a reality check that we need to give to Zelensky. Look, you're Biden's puppet, not Trump's. And we need to rebuild our empire. Let's come home and get that Panama Canal and kick Xi Jinping to the rocks. Understand I'm ready to drill in places like Russia because I like them because they're Christian. Shoot, I think we'd rather drill there than Saudi Arabia. But other than that, turn on the door to Venezuela and the northern part of South America. And I think every oil man in Texas is ready to make a go of that. Anyways, that's what I'm just saying. Hey, look at Moe, Larry, and Curly, and they're fighting the doom of destruction right there. And he wants you to know Iran is a great place to travel. Come here and travel if you're a woman. The only problem is you got to wear a complete bed sheet and look out through a couple slits in your eyes. But other than that, it's a great place to go. And when it's extra hot, if you don't mind, we'd like you to wear a complete black bed sheet. You know, because it's just one of the national requirements. Because our traditions are just made for, you know, making the world what it is. So that's kind of what we're wanting you to know, and that is, it's a great day to follow Christ. And we're making changes and we're throwing out the trash. Just ask Washington, D.C. And if you could, you're doing a great job out there, boys. Throw a little bit of more trash out there for me, and we'll keep a light on for you. But we need to get behind ICE, and we need to get behind everybody that's making Washington, D.C. a better town, and even Los Angeles a better town. People say, hey, it's Washington, D.C., not Washington, D.C., and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should call it Washington, D.C., and then Washington wouldn't have its rights. People don't know what I mean. Just put an R on there and it would change the legalities too. Or instead of Washington, D.C., we call it Washington District of America. Instead of the District of Columbia, we need to turn it into the District of America. We still have, so they would say, about 20 more days of troops, but there's been an extension. These troops are going to last longer. We didn't know if we're going to slide into a war or not, but it's illegal to be a bum or a drug addict. Is the answer putting us into concentration camps or providing more jobs? The only way we're going to defeat that is if we defeat dealings with communism. Anyways, my name's Chris Sanders. I pray that Trump stops liking Xi Jinping because that guy's just a sack of crap. You want to be a good environmental activist? Stop buying crap from China. Because within a couple of years, it's going to be floating in my beautiful ocean. And that's just a fact. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And you can see me on various platforms. If you have any news out and about, just put it down below because we are a community. We keep each other informed. But I wanted you to know that we can start relaxing. Have a great day, everybody, America.